On June 24th, in the William Penn Housing Projects in Chester, at a job fair out on the basketball court, I got to meet the county's largest landlord, whose name isn't Moses Manley. Here he is now.
I'm Steve Fisher. I'm the Executive Director of the Chester Housing Authority.
What is your biggest challenge as a director?
I'd say that would be an impossible question to answer. There's a lot of challenges here. Though it might not be seen by others as the biggest challenge, I seriously look at increasing the employment rate among people in our programs as a top challenge, or at least as a top goal, because that's the way to move in and out of our program, as opposed to staying in our program for long term. It's get here, get your feet on the ground, get your family safe, get employed, do better with that, and then move up and out. Okay. And you know, the program really works surprisingly well, maybe in comparison to popular belief. If you looked at the statistics in public housing, not just in Chester but across the country, the average stay of a family in public housing is a lot shorter than most people believe. You know, generally families stay in our programs from anywhere from a couple of years to 3, 4, 5 years, but not for a lifetime or generations as you often hear on the street. You know, that is the case sometimes, but for the most part, the programs actually work the way they were designed: temporary housing until you get a chance to get your feet on the ground, and then you know, make use of the time you spent here.
That the facelift of all the public housing in Chester has improved significantly in the last 5 to 7 years, I guess. Program's been running through. I couldn't help to notice also in the Bennett homes, all through, it seems like the last 8 months or so, there's been a bunch of renovations going on. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Look, I thank you for noticing and pointing it out. We work hard every day at improving the product we have. The Housing Authority in general was in dire straits going back a little longer than you just mentioned, and the federal courts got involved and threw this thing into receivership. And as a result, you've basically seen a rebuild of the entire Housing Authority. Now, it doesn't stop there. Now the current management group in place understands that you've got to be continually reworking things and refurbishing to keep that up. So, I would say we're in the last phases of the rebuild, but we now have properties that were rebuilt and renovated 5 and 10 years ago, and they need to be maintained. And of course, we can't ignore the fact that the recent stimulus bill out of Washington was a shot in the arm to us too, because rehabilitative work that we had on our schedule, let's say for the next 5 years or so, we got to speed up the schedule on that, and I think that's mainly what you're referring to at the Bennett. The lion's share of that work took place at the Bennett. It's one of our older properties. It's by far our largest one. We have 261 families there, a lot of children, and so I would say a good 70 or 80% of the $4 million plus we received through the stimulus bill was pumped into the Bennett.
Okay. All right.
But no, I'm really proud of the folks who took the time out to come here today, because you talked about priorities. This needs to be their #1 priority. They need to be here, looking for any opportunity that comes along to help themselves out, to help their families out, and then as a result, it helps the whole community. This is something we were determined to put on, in spite of the fact that there's a lot of negativity going on in the city right now. we're solidly behind the mayor's effort to focus on the criminal element in the city right now. But we feel at the same time we need to keep pounding the positive here at the Housing Authority, and the number one thing that we're always keeping on people's radar here is job seeking. Job seeking. You got to keep going after the jobs, and we were fortunate enough. A lot of people came together and helped us bring out about 10 major employers in the area, mostly right here in Chester, and despite this foul heat that we're dealing with today, as you can see, we've got a fabulous turnout, and people are literally lining up for job applications. So, I mean, that's what we want people to be doing. This is all about trying to further yourself and move up the ladder.